The first time I saw the credit card statement, I actually laughed. A charge for a single, ridiculously expensive red rose, delivered to an address I didn't recognize. I thought it was a mistake. A glitch in the banking matrix. I even called Mark, my husband of 15 years, and said, "Honey, you better check your card. Some florist is scamming you." There was a beat of silence on the other end of the line, just a fraction of a second too long. "Yeah," he said, his voice a little too high. "Must be. I'll look into it. I forgot about it." That was my first mistake. Life was a whirlwind of packing lunches, helping with algebra homework, and managing my own small interior design business. Mark and I were ships passing in the night, but I thought that was normal. I thought the tired kisses and the distracted conversations were just the price of a comfortable, middle-aged life. The second clue was the scent. Mark started smelling different. His usual musky cologne was gone, replaced by a faint, clean scent of sandalwood and amber. When I mentioned it, he shrugged it off. The old one was giving me a rash. Tried a new sample from the hotel. I wanted to believe him. I built a fortress of belief around our marriage, brick by trusting brick. But the foundation was cracking. It was a forgotten phone, left face up on the kitchen counter, that finally brought the whole wall down. A text flashed on the screen from a number saved as Jenna HR. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You've ruined me for other men." The world didn't slow down. It stopped. The hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, the blood rushing in my own ears had all just ceased. In that profound silence, a new version of me was born. A colder, sharper, infinitely patient version. I didn't confront him. Confrontation leads to tears, to lies, to pathetic promises, and a messy, humiliating divorce where he'd get half of everything we'd built, half of my sanity, my life. No, that wasn't justice. Justice needed to be tailored. A bespoke suit of consequences that fit his crimes perfectly. So, I became a ghost in my own home. I watched him. I learned. I accessed our phone records and found a number that called his daily, sometimes for hours. A little online digging a dangerous thing. A woman scorned with a LinkedIn premium account revealed her. Jenna, 28. A brand strategist with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She worked at a firm downtown, not in HR. I knew I had to be meticulous. Revenge isn't a hammer. It's a scalpel. I needed to cut him out of my life, without him even feeling the blade until he was already bleeding out. The plan began with money. I started siphoning small, untraceable amounts from our joint account into a new, secret one. Cash back on groceries. Fake refunds for returned items I'd never bought. It was slow, but it grew. I used it to hire a discreet investigator. The photos he delivered were a clinical dissection of my husband's double life. Mark and Jenna laughing over sushi, his hand on the small of her back in a dimly lit parking garage. A snapshot of them leaving a boutique hotel that most definitely did not use sandalwood and amber toiletries. Each photo was a nail in the coffin of our marriage. But I was the only one at the funeral. I stored the images in an encrypted folder I named Project Phoenix. Because from the ashes of this life, I was going to rise. Was not. For 6 months, I planned. I documented everything. I had copies of credit card statements, with charges for jewelry. I never received hotel stays coinciding with his business trips, and even the lease agreement for a small apartment. He'd rented for them, paid for, from our joint account. Embezzlement. That had a nice, legal ring to it. The final piece was the most delicate. I needed to isolate him. I began a subtle campaign against his support system. I'd casually mentioned to his golf buddy's wife that Mark thought her husband was drinking too much on the course. I'd let slip to his brother that Mark was stressed about money and might ask for a loan soon. I planted seeds of doubt and discord, so when failed, no one would be rushing to catch him. The day of reckoning was our 15th anniversary. I told him I'd planned a special evening at home. I cooked his favorite meal, a coq au vin that simmered for hours, filling the house with a deceptively warm, comforting aroma. I wore the black dress he always said made me look beautiful. I saw the guilt flicker in his eyes when he saw me, and I gave him my best, warmest smile. The performance of a lifetime. I have a surprise for you after dinner, I purred, pouring him a glass of expensive Bordeaux. He looked relieved, thinking the storm had passed him by. He talked about work, about the kids, about us. He was laying it on thick, and I just nodded, sipping my wine, a serene smile plastered on my face. When we finished, I led him to the living room. "Close your eyes," I said. He did, a smug little grin on his face, probably expecting a risk piece of lingerie or tickets to a golf tournament. Instead, I opened my laptop, connected it to the large living room TV, and opened the Project Phoenix folder. I clicked play on the slideshow I'd meticulously edited. "Okay," I said softly. "You can look." The first image that filled the 65-inch screen was the lease agreement for the apartment, his signature bold and undeniable. Then, the photos began to flash. Him and Jenna kissing. Him and Jenna entering the hotel. A screenshot of the text about the red rose. The color drained from his face. He made a sound, a choked gasp. "Sarah, I can explain." "No," I said, my voice eerily calm. "You really can't." I then picked up a thick manila envelope from the coffee table and handed it to him. His hands were trembling as he opened it. Inside was a copy of every piece of evidence I'd gathered, neatly organized and tabbed, and on top, 2 documents. The first was a divorce petition, already filed with the court that morning, citing adultery and fraud. It was heavily weighted in my favor, demanding full custody, the house, and a significant portion of his future earnings. The second was a report I'd sent to his company's board of directors, detailing his misuse of company funds for his affair of the business trips, the expensive dinners, all on his corporate card. I'd CC'd his direct superior, a stern, family man CEO who did not look kindly on this sort of thing. "Your boss called this afternoon," I said, my tone conversational. He was very disappointed. "You're fired, effective immediately." Mark stared at the papers, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The totality of it, the precision, was finally sinking in. He wasn't just being caught, he was being dismantled. The apartment. "How'd you?" he stammered. "You're not a very careful man, Mark. You left a trail of breadcrumbs. I just followed it and baked you a poison cake." He looked at me then, truly looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not guilt, not regret, but raw, undiluted fear of the woman he thought he had safely relegated to the background of his life. "I'll fight this," he whispered, but it was a hollow threat. He knew I had him checkmated in every possible direction. "You can try," I said, gathering my purse and the single suitcase I'd packed that was waiting by the door. The kids were at my sister's for the weekend. They wouldn't be back here. We wouldn't be back here. "But you'll lose. You've already lost everything." I walked out of the house we'd shared, leaving him standing there in the ruins of the life he'd shattered. I didn't look back. I got into my car, the one that was solely in my name, and drove away from the ghost of the woman I used to be. He thought he was having an affair, but he was wrong.